It happened on a night when the curtains were heavy. The casino lights felt dimmer than usual, and Elvis Presley stepped onto the stage carrying a secret that had been poisoning him for months. A truth whispered behind dressing room doors. A truth the Colonel prayed he would never disclose. But on this night, everything shattered. Minutes before showtime, someone handed Elvis a confession, a message that tore through him like lightning. And what happened next would become one of the most painful hidden chapters of his life. The night he nearly walked offstage forever. Tonight, we reveal the moment Elvis Presley almost broke under pressure of manipulation, heartbreak, and emotional exhaustion, and the truth that pushed him to the edge. Subscribe, because this is the story the world never got to hear. The dressing room felt wrong that night. Even before the phone rang, Elvis sensed something hanging in the air like static, a warning, a tremor, something crawling beneath the surface. He paced slowly across the room, tugging at the collar of his jumpsuit as though it were suffocating him. His reflection stared back from the mirror, eyes tired, shoulders heavy. He didn't feel like the king. He felt like a man stretched thin. Charlie walked in with a forced smile. 10 minutes, Elvis nodded without looking up. Then the phone rang. Not the main line, the private one. The one almost no one had access to. Charlie frowned. Expecting a call? Elvis shook his head. When he picked up the receiver, the breath on the other end was shaky, almost afraid. Elvis, a woman's voice whispered. He froze. He knew that voice. Linda, he asked softly. The silence that followed told him everything. Elvis, Linda Thompson whispered again, I didn't know if I should call. I know you're about to go on stage, but someone needed to tell you the truth. His heart jumped painfully. What truth? Elvis, the Colonel. He's been lying to you. He gripped the phone tighter. The room began to spin with slow dread. About what? He asked, though something deep inside already knew. Linda swallowed. Elvis could hear her voice trembling. About your health, your schedule, your condition, the money, everything. He told the staff not to tell you things. He said if you knew the truth, you'd walk away. Elvis, he's using you. Elvis's breath stopped. Charlie stepped closer, worried. Linda, baby, what are you saying? He whispered, voice cracking. I'm saying you're not safe, she said. I'm saying he's letting you burn because he makes more money when you're exhausted and broken. Elvis, you need to stop. Please, before it's too late. The words hit him like a fist to the gut. He closed his eyes, gripping the back of a chair to keep from falling. Linda, why now? He breathed. Why tell me this now? Her voice broke. Because I can't watch you die like this. Elvis's knees buckled slightly. Charlie reached out, steadying him. Elvis? Elvis, what's happening? Linda continued. Elvis, he lied about the doctor's reports, about the medications, about your finances. He's been signing deals without telling you, deals that tie you to him for years. You think you're sick because your body is failing, but he's been controlling what you take, how much you sleep, how much you perform. Elvis pressed a hand to his forehead. He felt cold, nauseous. How long? He whispered. Since Memphis, she said. Longer. Elvis, I'm so sorry. The dressing room felt too small, too tight, like the walls were closing in. Charlie grabbed the receiver. Linda, what's going on? What happened? You need to keep him safe, she said urgently. Please, Elvis can't go on stage like this. Not tonight. But it was too late. A sharp, thunderous knock at the dressing room door. Elvis, the Colonel's voice, loud, commanding, angry. It's time. Let's go. Charlie's eyes widened with realization. He whispered, he knows. Elvis slowly placed the phone back on the hook. His hand shook violently. Charlie whispered, You don't have to do this. You're not okay. Elvis swallowed the rising panic. His heart pounded like a warning alarm. No, Charlie, he said softly. I have to go out there. Charlie grabbed his arm. Elvis. If I don't, Elvis whispered, he wins. Another knock. Harder. Elvis. Now. Elvis closed his eyes. Linda's voice echoed in his mind. Before it's too late, before it's too late. He took one breath, then another, and walked toward the door with the weight of betrayal sitting on his shoulders like a stone throne. The door swung open. Elvis stepped into the hallway. The colonel smiled, and Elvis felt something inside him break. The hallway leading to the stage felt colder than usual. Too quiet, too heavy. Elvis walked beside the colonel, but the space between them felt like a canyon. Every step echoed in his skull. Linda's voice repeated in his mind like a ghost he couldn't shake. He's been lying to you. He's using you. I can't watch you die like this. The colonel, oblivious or pretending to be, marched forward with forced cheer. Big crowd tonight, son. They're hungry for a show. Let's give them what they want. Elvis didn't answer. The colonel's tone shifted, annoyance seeping through. You're quiet. You should be excited. Elvis stopped walking for one brief moment. The colonel looked startled, then irritated. Elvis, he said sharply, we don't have time for... I got a phone call, Elvis interrupted, voice low and unsteady. Right before the show. The colonel's expression tightened. Just a fraction, barely noticeable, but Elvis saw it. And Parker said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Elvis studied him. Every wrinkle, every twitch. They said, you've been hiding things from me, Elvis whispered. Important things. Parker laughed, loud, dismissive, theatrical. Elvis, you know how people are. Everyone wants something from you. Everyone thinks they know better. You can't listen to... Linda called. The colonel froze. That was all Elvis needed to see. He turned away, heart pounding, breath uneven. But before Parker could continue the argument, the backstage manager appeared. Elvis, curtain in 1 minute. The colonel clapped his hands, forcing cheer. Showtime, son. Whatever nonsense Linda told you, we'll deal with it after. Elvis stepped forward, but his legs felt weak. Not physically, emotionally. He wasn't sure he had the strength to pretend tonight. As he approached the curtain, Charlie rushed to his side. Elvis, he whispered urgently. Talk to me. What did Linda say? Elvis didn't answer immediately. He looked out at the audience. Thousands of faces glowing under the stage lights, waiting for him with the kind of devotion that could either save a man or crush him. She told me something I should have known a long time ago, Elvis finally murmured. Charlie's face fell. Elvis, don't go out there. But Elvis shook his head. If I walk away now, I'm running. And I've been running for years. The band struck the opening chord. The curtain lifted. The crowd erupted. And Elvis Presley stepped into the light, carrying a truth that threatened to break him. The applause washed over him in a thunderous wave, but it didn't fill him the way it used to. It sounded distant, hollow. He gripped the microphone stand to steady himself. His hand trembled. Good evening, he said, but his voice cracked slightly. Not from strain, but from something deeper. Charlie watched from the wings, anxiety twisting in his gut. Elvis began the first song, but something was wrong. His timing lagged. His breath faltered. His eyes kept drifting to the side of the stage, where the colonel stood, watching, arms crossed, evaluating him like a product instead of a person. Elvis swallowed hard, throat tightening. Linda's words came back again. He's letting you burn because he profits when you break. Halfway through the song, Elvis's heart began to race. Sweat rolled down his temples. His hands trembled so violently he almost dropped the microphone. The band exchanged uncertain glances. A woman in the front row frowned, whispering to her husband. He doesn't look right. Elvis felt the room tilt. His vision blurred. The lights melted into streaks, and the voices of the crowd warped into something distant and dreamlike. He grabbed the piano for balance, the same piano he had leaned on for comfort countless nights. But tonight it wasn't enough. He missed a note, then another. A ripple of confusion spread through the audience. Charlie stepped forward. The colonel grabbed his arm. Don't, the colonel hissed. Let him finish. Charlie yanked free. He's not well. On stage, Elvis pressed a hand to his chest. It felt tight, compressed, suffocating. He blinked rapidly, struggling to see. Everything was spinning. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Elvis whispered into the microphone. "I can't breathe." Gasps filled the audience. Charlie ran toward the stage, shouting, "Elvis!" The colonel barked, "Stay back." But Elvis wasn't hearing them anymore. His ears rang, his knees buckled, and then, in front of thousands of fans, Elvis Presley collapsed. The microphone fell from his hand, hitting the floor with a sharp crack that echoed through the entire showroom. Screams erupted. Charlie jumped onto the stage. The colonel froze, eyes wide, not with concern, but with panic, because Elvis wasn't just collapsing from exhaustion. He was collapsing from the truth. The world returned slowly, not with clarity, not with peace, but with pain. A deep, throbbing ache behind Elvis's eyes, a burning tightness in his chest, and the distant sound of people arguing. Sharp voices. Panicked. Angry. He wasn't sure how long he had been unconscious. Seconds? Minutes? Long enough for fear to settle into the bones of everyone in the room. When he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the ceiling of his dressing room. The second thing he saw was Charlie leaning over him, face pale, eyes wet. "Elvis!" "Thank God!" Charlie whispered, voice breaking with relief. "You're awake." Elvis blinked, dazed. "Charlie, what happened?" Charlie gently squeezed his shoulder. "You collapse on stage." Full drop. Scared the hell out of everybody. Elvis's breath hitched, not from pain, but from humiliation. The king collapsing in front of thousands. A shadow moved near the door. When Elvis turned his head, the colonel was standing there, stiff, expression unreadable. A storm brewing behind his cold eyes. "Elvis," Parker said, voice too controlled. "We need to talk." Charlie stood quickly, stepping between them. "No, he needs to rest. You're not going near him." The colonel's jaw tightened. "This isn't your decision." Charlie snapped, "The hell it isn't." Elvis struggled to sit up. The room spun violently. Charlie moved to support him. But Elvis lifted a weak hand. Charlie let him talk. Charlie hesitated, crushed by the request, but stepped back. The colonel approached slowly, like a lion circling prey. "Elvis," he said, tone forcefully calm, "you collapsed because you didn't follow the medication schedule. You can't just skip doses whenever you want. Your body is too fragile." Elvis stared at him, confused. "My medication?" The colonel nodded, folding his arms. "You're on a strict protocol. Your health depends on it." Elvis's heart sank. Linda's voice echoed in his skull. "He's letting you burn. He wants you dependent. He controls everything you take." Charlie stepped forward, furious. "Medication you provide, Colonel. Medication you control." The colonel ignored him. "Elvis, your exhaustion, your weakness, is because you're inconsistent with what the doctors prescribed. You didn't take your afternoon dose." Elvis felt a shiver crawl down his spine. He hadn't skipped anything. He took what they gave him. Always. His eyes slowly lifted to the colonel's. "What exactly am I taking?" The colonel's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Elvis, you don't need to worry about that. Your doctors." "My doctors are your doctors?" Elvis snapped, voice cracking. The colonel froze for a fraction of a second, just long enough. Charlie saw it. Elvis saw it. The whole damn room saw it. "Elvis," Charlie said urgently, "you can't let him." "Enough." The colonel's voice roared through the room. "I'm trying to help you, son. This isn't about trust. This is about stability. About keeping the show running. About keeping you running." Elvis felt the floor tilt again. Keeping you running. Not healthy. Not safe. Not okay. Running. A product. A machine. Something to squeeze until empty. The colonel stepped closer, dropping his voice to a chilling whisper. "You don't walk out on me now, Elvis. You hear me? You owe me. Everything you are, I built." Charlie lunged forward, but Elvis lifted a shaky hand to stop him. His voice was barely audible. "I collapsed, Colonel, because of you." The colonel's face flushed red. "Elvis Presley," he growled. "You are not going to blame your failings on me. You want to self-destruct? Fine, but don't you dare." "Get out." The colonel froze. "Elvis." Don't be ridiculous. I said, get out. The room shook with the force of his voice. For the first time in years, the king sounded like a man reclaiming his throne. The colonel tried to speak again, but Charlie stepped forward, chest heaving. You heard him. Out! Now! The colonel glared at Charlie, then at Elvis, a stare filled with rage, fear, and something that looked a lot like defeat. This isn't over, he hissed. Then he left, slamming the door behind him. Silence. Then, Elvis, Charlie whispered, tears in his eyes. Are you okay? But Elvis didn't answer. He was staring at the door, at the empty space where the colonel had stood. His voice was soft, broken, terrified. What did he do to me, Charlie? Charlie helped Elvis sit up fully on the couch. His skin was pale, damp with sweat, but his hands trembled more from fear than weakness. What did he do to me, Charlie? Elvis repeated, eyes wide and unfocused, like a man staring to the remnants of a shattered world. Charlie knelt in front of him. Elvis, listen to me. You didn't collapse because you're weak. You collapsed because something's wrong. Something they've been hiding. Elvis swallowed hard. Linda said he's been controlling my medicine. Charlie nodded slowly. I think she's right. Red West slipped into the room quietly, closing the door behind him. His face was tight, tense, like a man preparing for war. Elvis, Red said, voice low, you need to see this. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small plastic bag filled with pills, not prescribed bottles, not neatly labeled medications. Loose pills, mixed colors, different shapes. Elvis's blood ran cold. What is that? Red's jaw clenched. These came from your travel case. Elvis felt sick. I don't recognize half of these. You're not supposed to, Red said. That's the point. Charlie took the bag, holding it up to the light. Some of these are sedatives. Some are stimulants. Some are for pain. And some, he shook his head, some could knock out a grown man for days. Elvis pressed his hands to his temples. His breathing quickened. I trusted them, he whispered. I trusted the doctors. I thought everything they gave me was safe. Red leaned in closer. Elvis, they're not treating you. They're managing you. The words hit like a punch to the ribs. Managing me? Elvis echoed. To keep you performing, Charlie said softly. To keep the money flowing. To keep you tired enough not to question anything. Elvis squeezed his eyes shut. For months, he had convinced himself his exhaustion was natural, the price of fame. He blamed the late-night shows, the travel, the pressure, the sleepless nights. He never suspected the pills he swallowed faithfully, trusting the people around him, were slowly dragging him under. He opened his eyes again, voice trembling. What's happening to me, Charlie? Why am I getting worse? Charlie hesitated, then spoke gently but honestly. Elvis, you're being over-medicated, way beyond what's safe. Red added, you're being kept dependent, and the colonel's behind it. Elvis felt a wave of nausea. His chest tightened with a mix of fear and anger, so sharp it hurt. He's killing me, Elvis whispered. Slowly, quietly, right in front of everybody. Charlie grabbed his hand. No, Elvis. He's controlling you, but he's not killing you. You're still here, and now you know. Elvis stared at the bag of pills, seeing them for what they truly were, chains. How long has this been going on? He asked. Red exchanged a dark glance with Charlie. A while, Red admitted, longer than we realized. Elvis's shoulders slumped. How could nobody tell me? He asked, voice cracking. I have people around me every day. People who say they love me. Charlie's eyes softened. Elvis, we tried. But every time someone tried to help, the colonel shut them down, fired them, threatened them. He made it impossible to get close enough. Red's voice lowered. He picked people around you who wouldn't say no. Elvis felt tears burning behind his eyes. So the only people who stayed were the ones he could control. Silence filled the room, thick, suffocating. Charlie finally spoke. Elvis, listen. There's something else you need to know. Elvis looked up slowly. Charlie continued, voice trembling. When you collapsed tonight, The colonel didn't ask if you were okay. He didn't call for a real doctor. He only asked one thing. Red finished the sentence, anger shaking his voice. He asked if he could finish the show. Elvis closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his cheek. Not from weakness, not from fear. From the realization that the man he had trusted for 2 decades cared more about the money in the seats than the man on the stage. Charlie moved beside him, resting a steady hand on Elvis's back. You're not crazy, Elvis. You're not losing your mind. You've been manipulated, controlled, drugged, but now you know the truth. Elvis inhaled shakily. And what do I do with the truth? He whispered. Red leaned forward. You fight back. Elvis opened his eyes. And for the first time that night, something fierce flickered beneath the pain. Not strength. Not yet. But the beginning of it. The room was quiet again, but not the peaceful kind. It was the silence of man unraveling, thread by thread, until nothing familiar remained. Elvis stared at the bag of mixed pills on the table. His hands rested limp on his knees, fingers twitching every few seconds as though trying to grasp something that kept slipping away. Charlie sat beside him. Red paced slowly, fists clenched, jaw tight with guilt. But Elvis looked hollow. Controlled, he whispered. The word tasted bitter on his tongue. Dependent, managed, manipulated. His voice cracked. Is that what I've become? Charlie leaned closer. Elvis, you're a victim in this. This isn't your fault. But Elvis shook his head, tears gathering in his eyes. I let them do it, he whispered. I let him make decisions for me. I trusted him. I thought he cared. Red stopped pacing, turning toward him. Elvis, you trusted him because you have a good heart. Too good. You see the best in people even when they don't deserve it. Elvis lifted a trembling hand to his forehead. I'm the one who signed the contracts. I'm the one who believed the lies. I'm the one who took whatever they handed me without questioning it. Charlie swallowed hard. You were exhausted, lonely, vulnerable. Anyone would have. I'm Elvis Presley, he snapped suddenly, voice sharp and broken. I was supposed to be stronger than this. The outburst startled both men. Tears spilled from Elvis's eyes, hot, sudden, uncontrollable. He pressed both hands over his face as sobs shook through him, raw and deep, the kind that had been trapped inside for years. I'm supposed to be stronger, he whispered again into his palms. Charlie slid closer, placing an arm around him. Red sat on the floor in front of him, lowering himself to Elvis's eye level. Elvis, Red said gently, you're not crying because you're weak. You're crying because you're human. Elvis shook his head violently. I can't live like this anymore. I can't be a puppet. I can't walk on stage pretending everything's okay while they slowly destroy me. Charlie squeezed his shoulder. Then don't pretend anymore. Don't let them own you. Elvis lifted his head. His face was flushed, streaked with tears, eyes bloodshot. He looked younger like this, like the boy from Tupelo who still believed the world was kind. A tear rolled down his cheek. What would Mama say if she saw me like this? Charlie's heart broke. Elvis, he whispered, voice thick. Your mama would hold you. She'd tell you she's proud of you. She'd tell you to take your life back. Elvis closed his eyes, sobbing quietly. Red's voice softened, barely above a whisper. You don't have to be the king right now. You just have to be Elvis, the real one, the one we love. Those words undid him. Elvis bent forward, elbows on his knees, body shaking violently as the sobs came harder, deeper, all the exhaustion, grief, betrayal, heartbreak, self-blame pouring out in waves. Charlie held him. Red steadied him. Neither spoke. Neither tried to stop the crying. Sometimes pain needs to be released before a man can rise again. Minutes passed like this. Painful, slow, necessary. Finally, Elvis's breathing steadied enough for him to speak. I'm scared, he whispered. Charlie nodded. So are we. But being scared doesn't mean you're alone. Elvis looked up at them both, eyes red and glistening. What if I can't fix this? He asked. What if it's too late for me? Red shook his head immediately. It's not too late. You collapsed because your body couldn't take the pressure, not because you're finished. You still have a chance, but you need to cut him out. Elvis wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I don't know if I'm strong enough to fight him. Charlie leaned forward. You don't need to be strong, he whispered. You just need to choose yourself, and we'll fight with you. Elvis stared at them, shoulders trembling. Then very softly, I don't want to die like this. Charlie squeezed his hand. Then you won't. Red took a slow breath. Eat, we'll figure out the pills. We'll get a real doctor, someone you choose. We'll go through every contract, every lie, but you have to survive long enough to take your life back. Silence. Elvis closed his eyes, letting another tear fall. Then he whispered, broken but honest, I want my life back. Charlie smiled through his tears. Red nodded firmly. And for the first time all night, Elvis wasn't collapsing. He was beginning to stand. The dressing room felt different now, still heavy with pain, still echoing with sobs that had not fully dried, but something had shifted, something fundamental. Elvis sat upright for the first time in hours. His breathing had steadied. His hands trembled, but not from fear, from the adrenaline of a man who had reached his breaking point and was ready to stop breaking. Charlie watched him carefully, hope flickering behind tired eyes. Red stood near the door like a soldier guarding a king, not because Elvis demanded it, but because he needed it. Elvis, Charlie whispered, are you sure about this? Elvis lifted his gaze. There was exhaustion in his eyes. Yes, but also fire. I've lived scared long enough, he said softly, and I'm done. Red nodded with a grim smile. Then say the word. We'll back you. Elvis took a slow breath. I need to talk to him. Charlie stiffened. Elvis, that's dangerous. He's not going to react calmly. He'll manipulate, he'll lie, he'll twist everything. I know, Elvis said, but I'm not hiding from him anymore. Red cracked his knuckles. If he raises his voice at you, I swear to God. Elvis held up a hand. No fighting, no shouting. I'm ending this on my terms. Charlie placed a steadying hand on Elvis's arm. Just remember, you don't owe him anything. Elvis looked down at his hands. Hands that had signed contracts, held microphones, played guitars, touched millions of hearts. Hands that had also carried burdens he never asked for. I know what I owe, Elvis whispered, and it's not to him. When Elvis stood, his legs felt weak, but a conviction inside him steadied them. Red and Charlie helped him to the hallway. Parker was waiting. The colonel stood with his arms crossed, face twisted with annoyance, but also something else. Something Elvis had never seen in the man before. Nervousness. Elvis, Parker said sharply, we need to discuss your next show. No, Elvis said. Parker blinked. No. Elvis stepped closer, voice steady. We're not talking about the next show. Not about money. Not about schedules. Not about contracts. The colonel's smile faded. What is this tone, son? You're upset. I understand that, but we have business to run and... This isn't business, Elvis said coldly. This is me taking my life back. Parker scoffed. Elvis, don't be dramatic. Dramatic? Elvis stepped closer, eyes blazing. I collapsed because of you. The colonel froze. You drugged me, Elvis continued. You controlled me. You lied to me. You signed deals behind my back. You told my friends to keep quiet. You didn't care if I was sick or scared or dying. You cared about one thing. Money. The hallway went silent. Parker's voice dropped into a dark, defensive growl. You listened to me, boy. Everything you have, every dime, every record, every stage, exists because of me. Without me, you're nothing but a singer with a pretty face and no direction. Charlie stepped forward, furious, but Elvis raised a hand to stop him. No, Colonel. Elvis said softly but firmly. You're wrong. Parker's face reddened. How dare you? I was a singer long before you. Elvis's voice shook with emotion. I was a son, a dreamer, a man with a gift before you ever came along. You didn't build me. You didn't create me. I created myself. And you just took advantage of it. Parker stared, lips tight. Elvis's breathing trembled, but his voice remained steady. I'm done being controlled. I'm done letting you poison my body and my mind. And I'm done letting you decide who I am. Parker laughed bitterly. You think you can walk away from me? From this contract? From everything we built? Elvis took a single step forward. Yes, he whispered. I can. Parker swallowed. For the first time in their entire relationship, he looked afraid. Elvis, don't do this. I already did, Elvis replied. This ends now. Silence swallowed the hallway. The colonel straightened his coat, trying to recover his composure. You'll regret this, he hissed. Elvis shook his head gently. No. His voice was soft, almost tender. The only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. Parker glared at him one last time, then turned and stormed down the hallway, footsteps echoing like a fading threat. Elvis's legs almost gave out, but Charlie caught him. Elvis, are you okay? Elvis leaned against him, tears forming in his eyes. He inhaled shakily. I think I'm finally free. Red placed a hand on his back. Damn right you are. Elvis wiped his eyes, not in shame, but in relief. For the first time in years, the air felt breathable. The lights felt softer. The future felt possible. He turned to his friends. Let's go home. And as they walked away from the hallway where he had finally confronted his captor, Elvis Presley wasn't a king. He was a man reclaiming his own life.